Good afternoon. This is Townsend Finance Committee for July 30th. Calling the meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. As we have remote members, a roll call attendance voice, please.
Cheryl Mazekas is here.
Carol Hoffs is present.
Sam Grant here.
I heard both of you say that was Sam and Andrea.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Don Hayes present. So that will give us 5. We have a quorum. We are good to continue. This meeting is being recorded on the Zoom. It will be played live on Channel 9, also playback on Channel 9, and available on YouTube as available. At this point, I have no additions or deletions to the agenda. So moving into the work session. Last week we talked about the chair, vice chair, and secretary position. So I'm going to ask Carol one more time. It's kind of like
Sure.
until it's the second time. She has done the July 23rd minutes. They're in review to be distributed for a final review for the whole committee.
So when I fix that one change, do I just send it back to you, or do I send it to everybody, or what do you want to do? I don't have everybody's email
Right,
address.
so I can give you everybody's email address, but what I do is I send it to myself and blind CC everybody because we can't have discussions with it online.
Can't talk online.
We can't talk
Oh,
on
yeah, no,
for more than 2. So we just I send it to myself, blind CC everybody else, and then we'll have a chance to read it before we come to the meeting.
okay, so I'll just email it to
Yeah,
you.
on
Okay,
the next meeting. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, you know what? Email it to me. I'll do that same thing.
Okay.
I can send it.
okay.
And so I'll ask you to do that today. We do have assignments for other committees, and the only one that's outstanding at this particular time is capital planning. I am still assigned to properties and the audit committee. The audit committee is December to December, and properties committee is now ongoing from being assigned.
I did send my request to be reappointed to capital.
Okay, so you're doing that as a
I can do whatever you'd like me to do.
okay. We'll see, and if we get another member, Mark Harsey is thinking about the potential of rejoining the. So that I know capital planning was something he may do too. So we can hold off on that, just knowing that 2 people, one representing finance committee, will be assigned to.
What does the audit committee entail?
Teresa Morse and I are starting to define it a little bit because there's nothing really defined what the audit committee did. We were in contact when the audit came back. And last time when we had a contract, we also set the work requirements out for bid and then chose, in this case, Roselli and Clark to be our auditors. So those were the 2 main things. But what we've learned over the last 2 years is the audit committee probably should be on a review of the audit findings with the finance team in town hall and have meetings and status updates to see where we are with the findings and the corrective actions that are being taken. So we're looking to define those and start taking a more proactive role at making sure when they say we have too many accounts, what are the actions being taken to correct them. So we're looking maybe to expand it a little bit, but still within the audit realm of we're not going outside. We're just asking statuses of the audits.
What does properties do?
Properties is supposed to do two things. It is supposed to look at properties in town and make recommendations for purchases if possible. And the other is to make recommendations to the Board of Selectmen to sell certain properties. So it's managing all of the different properties that are owned by different Conservation Commission, open space, water, cemetery. So we have listings of all those properties. But when we have properties like the 182 Warren that was on the warrant, special town meeting warrant, I think it was last December, to sell, we make that recommendation to the selectmen to sell. They discuss it and then put it on the warrant. So it's not a lot of properties, and then the rest of them is they monitor properties that are being taken for taxes. And going through that. So that's the properties committee.
And how many people are on that?
I think it's a total of 6, and there may be 1 open position. Highway department is supposed to provide somebody. And that one's open, so I think it's posted as an open position on properties for that.
It is on the audit committee, is like with the highway department. Can they just recommend somebody who isn't on the highway department to keep them informed of what's going on?
Yes, they can. Yep.
Oh, good.
Yep. And so it doesn't have to be a highway department employee. It could be anybody in town representing the highway department, and then keep them informed. And that's how it's posted. Right now, they're looking for anybody in town to be that highway department representative on properties committee.
Dawn,
Yes.
can I ask that the volume get turned up on the big screen, because I can't hear anybody that's talking, Zoom or anything. I can barely hear you guys, you talk so softly, but, I can't hear them at all, because I think it's only on your computer.
Andrea, can you do me a sound check?
Yes, I can hear very well.
Okay, good. And we can hear you better. I think I just turned up the volume.
It's a little bit better.
Oh, okay. We'll hit that. Okay. Okay, so we'll turn that owl volume up and we'll see if that. Sorry, I went to. Oh. Okay. Sorry, I turned my microphone on and I'm trying to turn it off right now.
Well, sometimes in the past, if you had the microphone on the computer, it would echo or reverberate through the meeting, and I can remember a couple times you were told to turn it off.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think the speaker on the TV, you got the speaker on the iPhone?
yeah. Okay, so that turned my speakers off, so that should stop. I'm not hearing the echoing now, so I'm good. Sorry about that. Okay, so those were the standard memberships that we had. We did have a request that they're planning to put together a team to look at a trash fee process, and they're asking for a volunteer from Finance Committee.
I'll volunteer as long as they have meetings I can attend.
Okay, I did I believe I copied everybody.
Yeah, it looked like it would be during the day.
Yeah. It's during the day, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Yeah, because I'm retired. But sometimes I have doctor's appointments. I got grandkids. I'm shuffling to dance and softball games, and but if I can, I'll be happy to
Okay,
do that.
if not, we can work out an attendee.
But I don't mind doing that. Good evening.
Sorry, I meant to be sharing this, take that as a, we'll try it. Carol said she would attend the trash fee process.
Oh, good.
Kind of like,
Do you know when you'd be meeting?
yeah,
Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesdays?
so Wednesdays probably might be better because Mondays are going to be payroll and Tuesdays are opposite. So
Wednesdays are bad days for
for
me.
you, okay. I was thinking Tuesdays were better for me if I could.
Tuesday would be better for me.
Tuesdays are best for finance committee.
Well, since you're the first ones I've asked,
Yeah.
you picked.
Oh, yeah.
And Harold's gonna be the lucky person.
Yeah, and if need be, we'll tag team and
Yeah, just on,
I'll show up.
unless I have a doctor's appointment. Tuesdays are usually pretty good.
Melissa has made significant progress in finding a system that will handle all of that. I think they have an estimate on her cost to do it, so.
Which is the adjustment that we see in the,
Right.
so, okay, next I listed it as,
Question,
yes, Andrea.
where is this trash fee coming out of?
Oh, Sam, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, I only read about it today in your notes from this afternoon.
Yeah, so the idea is that, the funding for the trash line in the budget will be coming from an additional line item on your real estate tax bill. And there'll be the real estate tax plus
Well,
a
I thought
trash.
it's already there.
Well, yeah, yes, there's,
I mean, we have voted the trash thing started before I showed up in Townsend. And I recall the discussion when we had a 2.5 override in order to cover the trash not too many years ago. And now we're all of a sudden bypassing a 2.5 vote to override again and just putting a fee in, right?
No.
That's what it sounds like.
Oh, well, in a way it is, but when we voted the override for trash pickup, it was an override for that 1 year. And then the increase goes into the general.
I know how the town manages to divert the tax increase to cover something and then take it for something else. I'm well aware of that in every community, including this one.
No, well, there are two kinds of overrides. There's one for a specific
Right.
purpose and one just for an override overall.
Right.
And
Yeah,
this
so-
one was for a specific purpose. But the ones for a specific purpose only last until that purpose is accomplished 1 year. You get
Mhm.
1 year, and then it just goes to raise the total.
Yeah.
But a lot of people feel that we have had 2, possibly 3 overrides for trash
Right.
overall. And then that obviously that's something that people really want more than most things. I don't know. The conservationists complain about trash then appearing in secluded places and on the roads and in, at municipal buildings and things. I don't know if that would still be a problem.
But
Isn't trash, is it more than a 1-year contract?
They
Yeah,
signed a 1-year extension at the same rate as last year.
Okay, but in previous years, was it in a 3-year
they
contract?
were 3-year
Yeah.
contracts.
So when you had an override, wouldn't that cover the 3 years? Not just 1 year? No?
Well, generally, the override increases the tax levy that we're charging, and that says we're going to, it's not necessarily 1 year. You bring up your extra taxes, let's say it's $1 million, and so if we're at 19 million right now, we say an override for $1 million, so we're up to 20 million. Next year, our levy limit starts at the 20 million, and we go 2.5% over that.
Okay, but I was just thinking of trash. If you have
Yeah.
a 3-year contract for trash, you know what the dollars are for 3 years.
Yes. Yeah.
So for 3 years, you know what that's
Well,
expenditure is
that's-
gonna be. So why
Right.
would you have an override in that 3 years?
What you're trying to do with the override is bring your tax levy up to a point where you can support the ongoing budget with those continued dollars. So right now, what we're saying is, with the trash,
It's just assumed that there'd be enough money there then to afford trash without any other action.
Yeah, but if you enter into a contract for 3 years,
Yeah.
you're stuck with that money for 3 years.
you are. So let's say it was a 2.5% raise or increase year over year. So if you vote an increase 1 year, it stays consistent for the second and third year of the contract. You don't have to go back and charge. You don't have to charge extra because you're 2.5
Is it built in?
raise. It's not built in, but if
Okay,
the
now I'm
money
going,
you owe for a 3-year contract
Right.
can be covered by a one-time raise of the initial first
Okay.
year,
Okay.
see,
and then each subsequent year is only 2.5%.
Above.
okay,
It also depends upon what the amount was of that override.
okay,
Right, it's-
so
My
I
guess-
guess I'm so confused because I did contracting. So when I had a 3-year contract, and it was $1 million the first year, or whatever, million
Mhm.
2, million
Right.
3, I had to have that money for that 3-year contract.
Right.
And it had nothing to do with going back to the town and asking them for an override because I had to have that money.
If the override amount for the trash basically paid for 1 year's trash collection,
Okay,
you still have to come up with funding for years 2 and 3.
but you have a contract written for,
The contract just says this is what our expenses will be.
Mhm.
okay, so your contract's not for, so he's not giving you a contract saying, for this year, I'm gonna charge you $1 million, and next year it's gonna be $1.5 million, and the third year it's that. He's just paying you
Yep.
a base fee, and then he just collects whatever trash he does?
No, he agreed to a base fee, but he level funded it from FY 24 to 25.
Okay, that's fine, yeah,
And that,
Yeah.
give the Board of Health credit for negotiating.
yeah. Yeah,
No,
you
it
could
is.
do that, yeah.
The
Yeah, I
question
thought
then
it
is,
was
how
in
do you pay for that?
Right.
And we've bounced
Yep.
along ideas, but the best way that we see, unfortunately, is an $822,000 line item for trash fees, which we will then turn around and ask to collect that as a revenue for the fee collection system. I mean, if it could have been it could have been another override.
But didn't we vote at the last town meeting for that $824 to cover the trash?
You agreed to that number to pay the charges, to pay the
But wasn't
expense.
that a line item on the budget?
It was a line item on the budget
So,
for that amount. But
okay, but so
So-
you're saying that money really wasn't there?
no,
Yes,
the money,
because we did an unbalanced budget.
the money was there that we passed in April, but we had level funded the schools.
See, this
So-
is,
So
okay,
now the assessments for the schools are changing.
so you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Because,
Yeah.
because You can't, it's against the law not to have a balance, you have to have a balanced
Yeah.
budget.
Correct.
And I know working for the federal government, it was a crime. You could get fired for robbing Peter to pay Paul. And it should work, and the federal government laws flow down. So it should be the same with the state. It should be wrong to
Right, so,
take
Well-
Peter to pay
well,
Paul.
that's the way it is, and right now, the school.
But that doesn't mean it's right.
We're paying the school 1/12 of last year's budget, and that's why it was level funded. This budget is being presented, and they're looking to increase the school budget line. And so with the increase in the two school budget lines, we now come out of balance. And so the work is to try to get us back in balance.
Okay, so then you've got to maybe start looking at cuts. Maybe you need to start looking at where you're gonna cut.
Well,
I mean,
That-
I don't have a problem putting the trash fee. God love you, go put whatever you want on the warrant. I'm just saying, you got all these warrants. Just say, for the sake of argument, worst case, it doesn't pass. You have to have a balanced budget. So
Right.
what are you gonna cut? So you really need to think about what you're gonna cut if that doesn't pass. And you gotta stop robbing Peter to pay Paul, because that's wrong. And I know federally it's against the law, because we have appropriations, and we can never take one appropriation to pay for something else without going through all kinds of hoop and rename that money by almost an act of Congress. And I'm almost 99% sure that works the same way at the state level. So no matter what you do, fine, put everything on there, but worst case, if it doesn't pass, and I will tell you that, one thing townspeople get riled up about is their trash. And I'll tell you another thing. I lived in Chelmsford 30, 40 years ago, and they put the fee for trash in, and it was a huge hubbub. And guess what? The program lasted like a year, and they went back to, because they had so much crap given to them, they went back to regular trash. So you need to start thinking seriously about cuts.
Right. We need to think seriously about cuts, number one. Number two is the town gonna vote for the appropriation for the school? I mean, this whole thing is being presented in that we have to pay Neshoba tax. There's no
Going around that.
There's no going around that one,
No.
because enough of the other towns voted their
Yep, I
budget.
understand that.
We
Yep,
have to pay.
Yep.
It's the North Middlesex budget that's coming in.
yep, and that's also,
And they've done quite a bit of cutting.
yeah, they have. And the other part is the state is screwing the schools by not
Exactly.
paying their fair share, and I don't see anybody putting pressure on legislatures to start getting that money.
so if I can just want to talk about schools for a second.
We can, because I think that's to me, that's the driver of the changes.
So based upon the number that was in the May warrant, which is the level fund for 24, and their current assessment, as they voted on July 10th, that's a budget increase of $691,284.
Mhm.
So
So that's
there's a
instead of,
$691,000 item that we have to find funding for.
Right.
The town tried override, and that didn't work. I think they tried 2 or 3 times, and it didn't work.
There were, two different times. We had,
so this 691, that's down from the 1.3 million that they wanted
it was
the
a
first
total-
time.
Yes,
So, I mean, the override was like for 1.3 million.
yes.
And now-
They took 600, they took 621,000 out of their last ask,
Okay, so
across all.
but they're still at a high number. I looked at what a 6% increase would be. versus the 7.4 that it came out to. If we do if we get a new assessment from them at roughly 6%, that will relieve our budget by about 190,000, which takes care of our current deficits. I'm sort of getting ahead of my story.
Okay.
But, so I talked to the business manager today and I said, first, the governor signed the budget, the state budget yesterday. The DLS Gateway website has not updated to see what the final Chapter 70 funds to the school will be, or the general cherry sheet funds to the town will be. I'm hoping it's squeaked up a little bit, but we don't know yet. So I asked the business manager if there is any increase in Chapter 70 funds, will the school pass that on to the towns as lower assessments versus adding programs or whatever they cut back into it? Business manager thought that they would pass it on as a lower assessment. The school committee hasn't met to discuss that, so I don't think it's fair to pay
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But that was an ask. I don't think that will be a huge amount of money. I said, so the amount that our budget is out of balance today as of 3/30, if they could lower our assessment by that amount, then we'd be done. I said, so I'm proposing we put in the warrant that the selectmen will sign next Friday, a assessment number that equals that 6% that would then allow us to get a balanced budget. The town doesn't get to really dictate what their number is. The town just gets to say yes or no to their assessment. But if they should come back with that number or less, we're done. We have a balanced budget. We don't have to go back and forth. If they come back or don't come back with a lower number, we would have to decide whether to accept it or not, probably not, then call another town meeting a month and a half from now to make further adjustments. So I'm hoping that they will help us end this cycle of back and forth and agree to a number that approximates that 6% number or less. That said, I mean, we don't know until we get there. But the number that I'm going to propose to the selectmen is they put in a new assessment number for the high school at approximately 6% that would allow us to get a balanced budget with everything else we've done. And the selectmen could decide to stick with it level funded and say they're going to reject anything other than that. I'm open to what the finance committee would recommend as far as what we put in the budget next week. 6% balances the budget, or last year's number that just says we're not going to pay any increase.
Yeah. It's kind of, if we do 6% this year, what's the number going to be next year? It's kind of like, we have to have that predictability. If we put 6% in this year and it comes in another 6% next year, again, we're over 60% of our budget is going to the schools, which is not the Chapter 70 numbers, and the state is trying to drive us to a 55%. And the school has to try to get on board with us, trying to get to 55% of our budget goes to schools, and the remaining 45 is coming to town to support services for the town. So right now, it's kind of like, I don't have a good feel for next year's numbers. I was not part of the negotiations. I know they negotiated with our bargaining units this year. I don't think the number is going to be at 2.5% higher than whatever we put.
No, when I talked to the business manager, I thought she said today that their overall budget increased 3.4, which sounds somewhat reasonable, but I said, personally, all I'm interested in is the net assessment to towns.
Yeah.
Because that's what we have to live with.
Right.
So, aren't you looking for them to How much more are we looking from them?
Well, I'd like to reduce a lot, but
Yeah.
if they can reduce a minimum of $190,000, then we could have a balanced budget. I talked to Ashby today. They currently have a $245,000 deficit. If the school budget passes, they're looking at additional cuts plus $150,000 out of stabilization to meet that number. The school said that in order for them to reduce Townsend's assessment by $190,000,
Mhm.
they have to reduce their overall budget by about $500,000, $500,000. And
Mhm.
I'm not going to go through the school budget. If I wanted to do school budget, I would have worked for the school, not the town.
Right.
My interest is the assessment.
Yeah. No, and I know they have the unfunded mandates and the number of people that they have to have per student.
And then if they get hit by a special ed plan they didn't know about,
Yeah.
and those are basically
Right.
something they
And
had zero say over.
Have they settled on the healthcare? Because their healthcare got shut out I don't know, in the last minute, and that was something that they were trying to drive and get some help with to be able to drive or join a cooperative to drive down the cost.
Townsend's already done the health insurance thing.
Not, it's the schools.
Yes, I know, but I mean, we addressed that a couple years ago when I was here by changing the percentage from the towns and then changing, increasing the deductible.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, no, I'm talking specifically for the
Yeah.
school. The school was part of a cooperative that was buying insurance, and the cooperative dissolved. And so they had to go out and get a
And they
single,
didn't give them any warning.
they didn't give them any warning. They just,
They just dissolved.
Yeah.
Well, that's.
it's kind of like, so,
Yeah, that's. really
that's a piece. And so they gave us an estimate on what that is. So I don't know
Yeah.
what their current standing on their insurance is. If that is any place that they could expect some relief also.
I wonder if schools get insurance through the state. The public
Yeah.
schools. Don't they state
You-
have insurance?
I
Yeah, I don't know.
What,
I don't-
other schools?
Yeah, I mean, the public schools, why wouldn't they,
That would be something
like the
that they'd
state
be able to-
insurance, like,
Mhm.
if I work for the federal government, they have, the federal government has,
Right.
doesn't the state have something similar? And since they're a public entity, they would be part of that whole insurance thing? I don't know, but it sounds like it should be, but.
it could, yeah, I mean, that could be something that the state education board could look at, is maybe coming together with it and coming up with a large.
Yeah, because if you talk about all the public schools, you could probably get economies of scale and get a
Mhm.
cheaper insurance rate based on volume.
I would
But
hope
that
they're
was-
looking into that.
I would think that they are.
I don't always.
But that's something we can bring up. I did go to the, Robert Scarsdale, I forget the acronym for that.
Oh, for that thing on a week or so ago.
Yeah, July
Yeah.
19th.
What did our cuts go up to? Like, when we went through the
Okay,
budget,
so-
how much did we end up cutting of our own budgets?
For you.
Thank you.
Is that listed throughout the
I have
special warrant?
a new warrant if you wanted to sort of go through that, but,
We left off the warrant,
Potentially.
potentially.
I left off the article. Well, and then what I sent out today, yes, that's what I was working on the last few minutes,
Okay,
putting in the article that I skipped.
okay.
But if you, now's the time to find my errors.
No, I was just, only because I saw one and I said, well, where's the other one that goes with it? So,
Did most departments try to give back at least something?
Yeah,
You know,
we've not proposed cutting hours or staffing or wages,
right.
because I think that those are crucial to running the town.
Mhm.
And every position, I mean, those have all been sort of beat up, and
Right, I know.
maybe it's the wrong term, scrutinized by the selectmen and Eric before me and you guys.
Mhm.
One of the things that we don't consider when we talk about cutting back positions, and it was the thing that worried me right from the very beginning with the ARPA people that we hired. It's not so much the salaries that are killer. It's the benefits that are rising and rising, and that's where it is, particularly in healthcare. I think if we're going to even vaguely consider cutting positions, we should work out, somebody should work out, I don't know how to work out, the actual total cost of the employee, because it varies with everyone.
Well, and then there's the offset of unemployment insurance when you do lay off somebody.
Right.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And
But it's got to be less than, it's probably, the layoff insurance would probably be even less than the increase in the cost of medical care for that individual.
well, I can tell you that the selectmen and your interim town administrator are not considering cutting positions. So those are not on the table. We've got some other cuts we put in. This warrant that I've got in front of you represents $114,000 in cuts from the original budget. That's on the municipal side. That's not counting the increase on the schools.
But by the same token, if you take all the money from their expenses and leave them, then they're getting a salary but unable to do their work.
Well, yes. So we're not going through individual budgets because we believe that they reflect the reality of what needs to be done. Reducing headcount in a department doesn't reduce the work. Just means whoever's left has to
Do more.
do more, and
It may
that's,
not be the hours in a day.
Yeah,
So-
but some of those things can. No, I'm not saying that. It was kicked around here as an option, and so I just was putting in my opinion on that option. I don't want to lay off employees either. I was totally dismayed when we hired people on ARPA funds. I thought we would repair roads and bridges and things like that because we're funding salaries with one-time occurring funds. And those occurring funds are about to end.
Adria, I specifically remember you telling me that 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I know. It's been stuck in my craw for a long time.
So well, we're not talking personnel, but I just say the short answer to that is every one of those positions is one the select board and the TAs at the time felt vehemently were needed to be done. And that's part of what's needed to run a town, an $11 million operation, a town of this size.
But by the same token, we were able to replace them because we couldn't afford to hire them. So we hired them with ARPA. What we never really looked at was, could we sustain them?
Well,
And we can't. We don't have enough money coming in.
I believe we did, and I think the answer was, well, we got a 2.5-year head start with ARPA, and that we hope that we could show the value and find the funding by that time. But okay.
Yeah,
And
you're right. We did get a 2-year head start. But the budget, we also have this huge debt because it's not the increases. And you have some budgets that, for example, maintenance, that is way underfunded. Way underfunded. And if we couldn't afford them in the first place, I don't know how we thought we could afford them for a longer period of time sustainably. Just doesn't make any sense. But I know the selectmen do not intend to do anything about that.
So we need to see that in the forward-looking plan to see how we're gonna go from the $20,000 in the budget for FY '25 to the full salary in 2 years. Like those, and that's just the lines under the Board of Selectmen. We also have, and I believe Council on Aging has a plan ready for it. And I think that's the only remaining. This year, we did bring in the police and fire and stop funding with ARPA and have done that. So we did bring in some of the ARPA funded lines this year into the budget. So that's another stress on the budget this year.
Oh, by the way, Ross, did you look up the thing on the ambulance receipt?
Yes. So the warrant article will say.
Yeah, so, but I was gonna say, but there's a lot, we're jumping around a little bit, but do we want to go to the warrant?
Do you want to do the warrant article?
Yeah.
We want to look at the
And then we'll
current
get
version of
through.
that.
Yeah, did you?
Oh, is it updated again? Okay,
It was updated 15 minutes before I came in here.
okay.
Did you happen to mail me a copy?
I did not, but I will.
Okay, just to try to share.
And, I mean, it's reasonably close for discussion purposes for Sam
Okay.
and Andrea, but,
Yeah. So
okay.
I'll go in and get that.
I'm sorry, I haven't sent it to you yet.
No, but the one you sent earlier, I can follow up. And at least we can be close.
Article 1 is just $656 to pay a bill from last year, so that's sort of,
Okay, but that was last week, we were looking at 10,000 if I remember right.
I had 10,000 as a placeholder.
Yeah.
When we actually looked at the actual bills,
Mhm.
once some of them they were able to encumber and pay them for FY '24.
Yeah.
656, so that's down from 10,000, so we tried there. Article 2 is to increase the transfer from ambulance receipts from 700,000 to 800,000, or a net increase of 100,000. And Andrea, the purpose of that is to operate EMS, is exactly the wording that was in the May town
Okay.
meeting.
Good.
Article 3 is to reduce the town administrator salary line item by $6,000. So that total will now total 129,000 versus 135,000. Article 4 is to reduce the automobile allowance for town administrator by 2,800, so it'll be 2,000 instead of 4,800. And these are based upon negotiations, so these are real numbers now. Article 5 is to reduce MIS communications by 10,000, so that line item will now be 5,000. And that's on reducing individual Comcast charges to multiple buildings, reducing the need for firewalls at those buildings that will all be done on the central basis. And this is the result of the fiber optic cable that's been installed from buildings to buildings. Article 6 is to reduce the line item for police new equipment, reducing it by 95,000. That's the big hitter. That's the 4 police cruisers that they plan to lease starting presumably July 1. The intention is to push that out to a December special town meeting and to fund that from other sources at that time.
Okay, and so
So is
For-
it just 3 groups then?
It's 4 cruisers,
4.
How
So,
much was that?
95,000.
so that was the line in the budget that we passed. How are they gonna are they gonna continue to pay the old lease for a couple more months until that comes in and continue to lease existing vehicles? Or how does he fill the gap of those vehicles?
They're walking instead of riding.
Bikes on the rail trail.
Electric
E-bikes,
electric
e-bikes,
bikes.
Just a question, it's kind of like we're talking about kicking money down the road. We're still not taking it out of the FY 25 budget. So in my estimation, or my understanding of this is 95,000 that we don't have today. We're gonna try to do with one-time funds, which means we're not able to pay for it with, taxes, with ongoing revenues. It's again, it's a one-time piece that we're in the hole when we get into FY 26, that we're gonna have another $95,000 to try to find on top of everything else.
It's 95,000 you didn't have to find this year.
Well, I understand that, but
But-
it's kind of like,
but
if we're just kicking a problem down the road for a year,
It's gonna be
That's-
even worse with
it's gonna-
inflation.
when we kick in, I think the lease is fine because they have the agreement, and the chief has probably spoken with who's leasing it from.
Who's
This
leasing it
was a
from.
significant increase,
Okay.
but. um,
A lot of towns, the police cruisers are put in as a capital request,
Mhm.
and they're funded
Right,
as capital stabilization, free cash,
Yeah.
maybe raise and appropriate, but usually as a
Mhm.
capital item.
Yeah.
Townsend's position and the chief's position, when I talked to him 2.5 years ago, is this is an ongoing expense, and he wants it to be operating
Yeah,
budget.
because it's a lease.
one way or the other, we have to pay, whether it's a
But-
lease or a capital purchase. It kind
The
of-
purpose today is we're taking it out of what's being appropriated
Mhm. But-
on August
but I think-
20th
but I-
and delaying it.
Yeah, and I think we just have to be honest and give the people these options. We're just kicking it down the road. Now, we do have the money this year. I'm perfectly, I know that we sold the 3 properties and there's extra money when we get free cash certified. I think there's gonna be a one-time large amount in there that we have to be cautious with what we use.
Do we
Yeah,
have a rainy day fund for
We-
unexpected
we
expenses
do
like a
this.
furnace crashing and you have to replace a roof or a furnace or something?
And we really don't. Yeah, we really don't have one of them. What we have is stabilization, so if we had something that was really catastrophic and we had come up, we'd be using stabilization.
But if you keep taking money out of the stabilization
Without
fund to pay
replenishing it.
everything else without replenishing it, if you have a windstorm and it takes off
It-
a roof of
I
a
just
building,
want to be cautious, as we're adding these up, I want to say, look at the article that, we're taking an extra 100,000 for ambulance funds. That's one time for this year. Are we going to guarantee that there's going to be 800,000 there next year for ambulance to fund their EMS and fire next year? It's kind of like, so all of these monies we're placing in are cautionary tales for next year of if the money isn't there, this one-time money isn't there, we're gonna be about 400,000 in a deficit budget going into next year, which is 3 years of stabilization money, and we're bankrupt. It's kind of like we're running the town towards bankruptcy if we continue.
Well, I would submit that the ambulance receipts is not a one-time. The chief feels very confident that we are getting more and more traction in our ambulance runs. We have a very advanced ALS system, and we're getting a lot of
We're all over the
support
They really are.
Oh, yeah.
No, I
but
realize
that's
it's a
not
lot,
always a
but,
good thing,
but
because that means somebody saw it.
right, and that's the thing, if we get to that point where there's a low year of cost, is the money gonna be there to be
I
able
don't know
to?
that, what I think would impact it, if all the surrounding towns invested heavily and put in an advanced life system,
Mhm.
service, they wouldn't need the Townsend force as much as they do.
Mhm.
But I would venture that's a 5-year window for towns to
To build up to that
build
entire.
up to that. So I would say that
But that
this,
could be, yeah, that could be
How
something that we
does,
could sign
I
contract.
heard the Neshoba was gonna close.
Well, that's still,
So does that affect the ambulance runs? Because I
It'll be
know
longer.
It'll be
it'll be longer, so is that gonna cost more money to the ambulance?
For the pages.
To the
They'll
patient,
charge by the
okay.
mile. Yeah.
Okay,
They'll charge by the mile and the charges go up.
okay,
So,
so,
I mean,
okay,
ideally, they're trying to work on that,
okay,
but I don't, right now, that's
Alright.
beyond us. But again, just, we have to be cautious and we have to see. You know, we sort of, at the end, will be the ARPA money. How much is that? You know, that's gonna be about another 80,000,
Because-
100,000 that we're talking about adding to this, that over the next 2.5 years, we have to get into a budget. It's kind of like, there's gotta be that vision of where we're going.
because if you're talking worst case, say you have a $400,000 deficit next
Mhm.
year, then you're gonna have to look at layoffs, potentially.
well, one, I hope not, but two, if we do, it's better next year than this year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
So those are
Yeah,
the
but-
choices we're coming down
but-
to.
but I mean, you just gotta keep that in the back of your mind,
Mhm.
you know.
Right.
Yeah. Half a dozen or another, but you're looking at a lot of money that you're falling behind
That's
on.
right. You know, and that's, so, okay, sorry.
Okay,
Okay, so there's, Article 6 was reducing the current, police expenses by 95,000 by delaying the cruisers. Article 7 is actually an increase.
Ah.
That's showing the increase from what was in the warrant, which was the FY '24 number, reflecting their July 10th assessment, which cut like 621,000 out of the previous number. So I told the school today, I appreciate that cut, but we still need more. Article 8 is similar for Neshoba Valley. That's an increase of 334,000 in one line item and an increase of 38,000 on the exempt debt one. Those are sort of the numbers you've been talking about relative to the override. Article 9, I'm adding a line item on the solid waste. It's now 25,000. And when we met last week, I suggested I thought it was 50. But that's my estimate, and I've had some help from Melissa in coming up with what makes up that number. The cost to staff for the fee collection on the trash.
but where's the warrant article for actually establishing the fees?
There isn't because the one's not needed.
One's not needed, okay. So, oh, so you don't have to vote on the trash fees then, trash collection?
Correct. The selectmen it's their purview to make that decision. And
Okay. Okay, so they just make the decision and it doesn't have to go to the town vote. Okay,
I don't think you mean okay, but I think you're under, that's the situation.
well, yeah, I mean,
And those are.
if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. It's
There's
like,
been some checking with the lawyer and with the state.
Okay.
To see, I have a similar situation in another. That the Board of Selectmen have the ability and the right to say what is included and what is not included in the town budget. And if there needs to be a fee,
well, I mean, that's.
it's kind of, I'm not saying all services in this
No.
particular case, it's specific to trash.
No, that's fine, because I know the planning board, we set fees.
Mhm.
And we don't go before the town and ask them their permission,
No,
so
we-
I get
Board
it,
of
so,
Selectmen, yeah, Board
yeah,
of
so,
Selectmen
so
approve
I
the
mean,
fee.
I get
That
that.
changes.
When we,
I don't get it. It seems to me
Yep.
that you would have to, well, maybe you do. You'd have to cancel. You have an article to, cancel the amount to be raised by funds, appropriated, and replace it with a fee system. Or else people are gonna think they're doing both.
I think when they get this up and running and established, they could possibly create an enterprise fund,
Mhm.
which would then be, the fees go in as collected and the expenses go out of that fund to pay the hauler.
I was gonna say, very similar to real estate taxes. The
Real estate, water is
And
sort of
water
an enterprise fund,
It is, they go into a fund, and when there's
but
fees.
there's
they get-
complications to that, and I think since this is a startup year, we're just gonna do the fee collection process. So anyway, that's Article 9, is to realize there will be some expenses to collect those, that revenue. Article 10 is to raise and appropriate $13,200. This turns out to have been something that is a capital item that was in the town meeting warrant from 2021, and it was an ongoing lease payment for this loader.
Mhm.
That initially cost the town $18,000, and there should have been an article in the May town meeting as a capital request to pay this lease payment. Somehow that got overlooked, and it wasn't in the, but we still have to pay it.
Is this the last one, or are there?
I believe it is the last one. So that was one they had to catch. Article 11 is, I've gone through and talked to everybody, and we have 5 old warrant articles that the project is complete and there's still money left over. So we're proposing to get that money back. First, close the accounts, which helps simplify the accounting a little bit, and then return $22,577.50 back into the town's budget. Now, we can put it into stabilization, or I can count that as a revenue. There's a line item on a revenue for transfer from other funds, which will lower the deficit.
Are these the same five articles that the auditor mentioned in his report that we could vote back?
I would say it's some of, it would be some of them.
Well, he mentioned that there are some, and so there's a list of probably 25, and I've gone through every one of them with the person or the department that's responsible for it, and I've gotten the okay on these 5.
Oh,
So
I
there's-
see. Okay.
So there's still more out there, but if they're active, they should stay there. That's the purpose of doing a warrant article.
That's right. But the auditor felt that they were inactive, and I had thought there were a great many more than the 5, but you answered my question just fine. Thank you.
Well,
And just out of the double checking, the amount in the text doesn't match the amount.
my math is still off.
Under the total, it says 22,580, and up above it says 21,507.
Yeah.
So it's just getting, it's gonna, and again, this is the warrant, it's gonna be the motion that actually
Yes, and
has to
I
match. So,
frankly didn't have a chance to proofread it before I gave it to you.
okay, that's fine, it's kind of like, it just,
So 22,580?
it's 22,000 and something.
Okay,
Okay,
I mean, I hate to be
Yeah.
vague, but you'll have specifics by
okay.
Right.
town meeting.
We can get a calculator. out
Um,
if we-
Your preference, I'm putting it directly into stabilization, if I word the motion that way, or to put it in as local receipts and as a line item. Either way, well,
What's the advantage or disadvantage of putting it one way or the other
If we
way?
put it in the stabilization, it then becomes a 2/3
vote to come out.
vote to come out of there. It's kind of like, if we move it into the revenues, it is just a revenue vote to, it's in revenue. If we don't use it all and it's in general, no, this will be FY 25 money now. So it's kind of like,
Well,
it would be sort of, yeah, it goes against the
Is one,
list of revenues that we have to support the budget, so. it's kinda-
okay,
I'm gonna answer the rest of your question when I get to the end of the warrant.
Okay,
I don't wanna
okay, no, that's
jump
fine.
ahead, but,
No, that's fine.
then you can tell me, and I'm gonna ask the selectmen the same question, whether, I think the simplest thing to do is actually to put it into other funds receipts, and then just trickle, it immediately goes to the bottom line and reduces the deficit by that amount. But this took a fair amount of digging to one, get the accountant to pull these articles out and then go circulate it and find the owners of them.
Yeah.
And then get them to. So,
Right, okay, so, yeah, I would think that some of the aren't the same anymore.
Well,
We've had department
okay,
head, yeah, it's kind of like that, yeah, it's,
It's $22,000 that
Yep.
the town appropriated, we're putting it back in the, where it
Okay.
belongs. Article 12 is to allow, to pay the treasurer collector $1,000 a year if and when she receives her treasurer collector certifications.
Mhm.
So this is right now just to authorize this to happen. She is still in training, so it's not going to be an expense until FY 26. So it does nothing to the budget this year other than putting that provision in there. I know when I was here before, we did this for town clerk because she received her certification. And I think it's a good way to encourage people to get extra training, which benefits the town.
right.
But this has no dollar impact.
it's,
For the town clerk, though, it was the law, said that she could do that upon certification. Is that true for the treasurer too? I mean, that the law says.
Yes, it says per Mass
Good.
General Law, Chapter 41, Section 108P.
But I think you should take this off, because I think there's already too much to address, and something that won't take an effect till later, I don't believe should be addressed
26.
now.
Well, I would submit that since it's non-financial this year, I think we could cover this.
Yeah,
Pretty
but
close.
it's made a commitment to spend more money when we haven't obviously made a commitment to get more money.
Yes, I also think we need to make a commitment for employees. She's undergoing this, she's doing this training now.
Yeah.
I expect to complete it in 26. So,
Right. And again, by, it's
Pretty good, Jim.
it becomes, it's a quick article, puts it in there, the money's not going this year. However, when she does get certified, we have a consultant fee that we're paying right now that goes away. And so if you have that, whatever the number is, 40,000 or 35,000, that's gonna go away, and this $1,000 is the incentive for the person that's assistant treasurer becomes the treasurer with a raise because she's fully certified.
Mhm.
And then that does it, but the other, in the long run, it's a savings because we're gonna be having an accountant with certification and getting rid of.
so this is a treasury collector. It's sort of similar
I'm sorry.
situation.
I thought you said accountant, okay.
I thought it said account somewhere in here too, but whatever.
Well, it's treasurer collector.
Treasurer collector.
And it reflects training, I think, for someone to get certified.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, it's
Yeah,
kind of like,
that's fine.
we'll go back to it. I had a question on the person.
Okay.
Article 13 is to acquire an easement in the property at 94 Fitchburg Road. This is not the final language. The attorney representing the developer needs to provide us with this language. But this is a drainage pipe that one was plugged up, so the road was flooding. When they unplugged it, they realized it was discharging on private property, and the owner or the developer agreed to let us bring the pipe across their property, and they actually paid for the installation. We have to obtain the easement and compensate him somewhat for his efforts. So that's $4,000.
One-time payment.
One time, clears up the drainage. Will be in or out of the warrant based upon whether the developer's attorney gets us the paperwork in time. But they seem hot to trot on a month and a half ago on this. Article 14, last but not least, is to balance the budget with a transfer from stabilization. Right now, that's 143,000 minus the 22 that we transfer from the old articles. So thereabouts $121,000 for stabilization. My suggestion will be to agree amongst ourselves to put that back into stabilization out of free cash this December, because as Don had mentioned, the town has a one-time sale of some properties that will allow them to take care of the cruisers, replenish the stabilization by this amount, and still have sort of their normal annual free cash funds.
That we have to pay for snow. And hope it's not a bad year.
Well, yes, I mean, that's sort of the normal free cash use is snow and ice and a few capital items or something if you can.
Right.
But that the motion will probably be adjusted at town meeting when we know exactly what passed and didn't pass. Most of the requests, other than the school, are decreases.
Just had one question. This here where it shows like needs and the resource that town manager or town meeting approved was 10,000 each, but yet the Board of Selectmen budgeted twice as much.
Are these the two positions?
Yeah,
Those are the ARPA funds.
those,
Those are ARPA funds.
Oh.
So the community outreach and human resources are those.
okay, so why the twice as much?
Because we're trying to ease in
Oh, into,
and take over. Get them into the budget. So now if one of them, and that's why we need to know the real salaries. Because
okay,
as we
because
go
now
out,
you just doubled what
we
was approved.
we double what, well, we didn't double what was approved. We put 20,000 in this year. It's kind of like, so last year we said,
Okay,
there's a little bit of room, let's put it. So in 23, you can see it was zero. They were on the payroll, but all of it was ARPA funded. Last year, they were mostly ARPA funded and we put 10,000 each in there. For FY 25, we said, let's go to 20.
but is that really their real salary?
No, it is not their real salary.
So
ARPA,
what is their real salary gonna be?
and that's what we have to get to. That's why I say the ARPA funds we need to see all of it. It's kind of like this is a snapshot of this year and we don't know where we're going. It's a blind corner. We're gonna go around this corner and we're not gonna know. Because I have to think, if we look at the fire chief salary, are we continuing, how long are we gonna continue to pay roughly a half a chief salary? Are we gonna get zonked over the head with a full chief and be looking to pay 130,000 salary at that time? It's kind of like, there are pitfalls in here that we really need to see.
You need to know what the real budget, what the real salaries are.
Right, and so we have the real salaries for this year, but we have these things hiding in the background that, the whack-a-mole. It's kind of like, but, but, I mean, obviously, we're talking about them, so we know where these are. We don't know where some of the real hidden ones are. But
Well,
these
Do we
we
have
can see.
full-time fire chief now and a deputy chief? Full-time?
Isn't he only taking half salary, the chief?
I thought he went on to full, I thought,
No, if we look at this salary, he's still at about 65,000, I
That's
think.
what I thought. The chief was getting like 65,000.
that's roughly half of what the market rate
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
66.
I thought
But
he
he's only
did
here.
that. He volunteered to do that or something. I don't know.
It is, but,
Yes.
but when his contract is up, is he gonna sign on again?
Or are you gonna be paying a real fire chief a real salary?
Right, or is a position going and we're gonna promote somebody and not have a deputy chief? I
Yeah, I mean,
need to see the
those-
plan.
yeah,
It kinda-
yeah.
This
But-
doesn't tell you, this tells you
but you
But
really need
till
to know
June of next year.
I understand that he graciously took a
Mm-hmm.
thing, but you also have to plan for the real world of what the real salaries are and what these things are and going into, like you
So-
said, into the next year,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise, you're not only gonna be $400,000 in the hole, you're gonna be $1 million in the hole. And then what are you gonna do?
that's,
And then you're gonna be declaring bankruptcy. I mean, it's like,
Well,
you gotta start having a real budget. I guess I like the federal government because the money, whatever bucket of money I had for my contract, I could spend
That's
this line on this thing and this line on that thing, and it was very clear, and you didn't mess them up.
I will submit that that's exactly the way this works. There's a line item in the budget, that's what it is. What has been discussed, or what hasn't been really looked at, is where does the revenue come to offset it?
Mhm.
Initially, there was a request for $1.6 million because there were more expenses than there was revenue.
Okay.
That plan didn't work. So now we're looking at other ways, and the largest single item that could be cut, unfortunately, is trash
alternately
fees.
addressed. Alternately addressed.
Okay.
It's gonna, because, so by taking that, now,
Okay, you got, so now you got 800,000 plus.
right, so now
I
we
think
have a
24.
smaller amount that we're trying to fill the rest of the holes, and that's why the 100,000 here, kicking out 95,000, bringing 22,000
But you're
out
only,
of
but you're
articles.
kicking the 95,000 is really kicking the bucket. It's not really.
Well, yeah,
It's-
we're just moving it and addressing it for FY '25. We have the longer term structural issues of, okay, it's only $22,000. We bring it in, that's $22,000 we don't have to come up with, but we don't have that $22,000 in articles next year. So all these little pieces of what we're moving and bringing into revenue, we have to make sure it's gonna be revenue again in 26, 27, 28.
no, we better ask for anything.
And the copiers better not break.
Don, there should be ATM articles that can be recovered next year. I mean,
Right.
if not next year, it's the second year. I mean, that concept, I mean, I've always tried to look through every ATM article when I'm doing budgets to see what I can recover.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been done the last couple of years, okay, but that option is there next year, and projects will finish up.
Right, but are we gonna have guessed wrong all that many times? So we need to look at it, and then maybe that's something that we need to count on the department heads when they're done with it and it's in their budget and they see it, that they bring it up to the town administrator that says, we don't need the rest of this. We're
Well,
done with it.
department heads should do that,
Hmm.
accountant should do that.
Yeah.
And I will submit, as the guy who won't be here.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah, the
convinced
next
that-
guy should do it,
As
yeah.
the town administrator should say, so what can we recover?
Hmm.
That's been my budgeting process for as long as I've been doing it. That's just good accounting to clean up old items.
You don't want that kind of money hanging around. If that money was hanging around, you put it in, you know,
Well, yeah,
It-
you need to close out your
need
contracts
to
or close
close it
out whatever you've got to
And-
close
and
out.
You, the voters, divided that money through taxes last year, the year before, and I like to since you've done that, put that money to work. So that's what we're
Yeah, it's kind of like, I'm okay with that, but again, it's kind of like, do we think it's gonna be the same numbers for the foreseeable future? There's gonna be some there, but it's kind of like, don't know that how much of it's gonna be. I mean, some of the revenue, I know we don't see, and some of it's minuscule. You know, the settlement numbers for opioids, it's kind of like, that money's coming in, Board of Health gets it. It's not really part of the budget that we're looking at.
Yeah, but you pretty much know that, you know, next year's budget is gonna increase by 2.5%. I mean, that's
Well,
a given.
that's what our tax levy is, and then there's a tiny bit more for growth. So that average is 200,000 to 300,000 growth. So your tax revenue is going to be 2.5% of where we are, plus another, say, 200,000.
But your reunion.
And excise tax.
Well.
And excise tax, yeah,
Well, yeah.
excise
Well, you
tax.
always have-
And again, the more we buy new cars, the higher our excise taxes are going to be.
Yeah,
Is the finance committee in a mood to vote their recommendations for or against these articles?
I know Sam.
For,
Go ahead.
it's gonna be against, I won't ask her for a vote. I mean, I can put a recommendation in the warrant.
Is the Board of Selectmen going to meet Monday next week specifically on the warrant articles?
That's on their agenda is to vote the warrant.
Are they doing more? I'm wondering if that makes sense to do. I had it originally scheduled the joint for the 6th, but if we do it the day early, we could vote the recommendations the day before. And that way you can post the article. It's kind of like, gives us more time to finalize them and really discuss them. It's kind of like we haven't. Well, let me go and ask the question on the phone. Andrea and Sam, do you feel that you'd be able to vote on the articles, or do we need more discussion time for the articles before we?
I think we need more discussion time, because I think I just need, and I don't know about y'all, but I need to think about these articles more. And I was going to ask to go back up to the reserve, the ambulance reserve receipt account article, because even now I have thought of things that I didn't ask about that I need to know about. So
Okay,
I think everybody could use some more time.
to think on it. My question, and it goes back to the line that's 25,000 for the treasurer collector and collecting. Are we adding hours to an existing position, or is it going to trigger somebody to go over and become a benefited position, or is it all absorbed within?
We're not, it's anticipating additional hours, no additional people, and no change in health
benefits.
Health benefits.
The benefits.
Why is it $500 more than what the town clerk got?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Sure.
it's kind of like you, yeah, I was going with the fee line. Your question is
Okay,
on the
I'm sorry.
treasurer. Yeah, that's okay. It's kind of like, that did have a Mass General Law article and section, chapter and section with it, I
We're
believe.
talking about Article 12, why the treasurer collector would get $1,000 for her certification. Is that where you are, Andrea?
We don't see that one. I don't, well, this is the one he just handed out.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
Andrea doesn't have it and I don't have it.
I thought
okay,
earlier in
okay.
the
All right,
discussion,
okay.
it was said that she was going to get 2,500.
No,
No,
one
just got
1,000.
confused.
Yeah,
Sorry.
okay, yeah. So it was probably the 25,000 for the fee.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and again, that probably makes sense that Sam and Andrea haven't seen the latest and greatest, so.
Okay.
We'll work on something and figure out a time we can have a meeting.
Next week.
No, you won't. Okay.
This one's full.
Could we go back up to the article about the ambulance reserve fund so I can get it out of my mind?
Oh, we don't, hang on, I think I do. Let's find it.
It was really early on.
Yeah, so,
It's Article, 2
Article
in
2.
this draft warrant.
so. I should have it on the screen.
Yeah.
We're voting to raise and and
So is it going back down to 700,000 or?
no,
I'm
no,
confused.
it's kind of like, so the May amount was 700,000
Right,
and we're making it 800,000.
right.
And so this is an additional $100,000.
Right.
Okay, that's the additional 100,000 you talked about last week. Now, is that 100,000 gonna reduce the fire department budget, and that 100,000 then can go to balancing the budget?
It goes to the general fund essentially, because the fire department's budget will not need as much from the general fund because they'll be getting this from ambulance receipts.
Okay, I just, the first time we discussed it, I didn't get that was going to happen, and that's the way it should be. I'm glad, thank you.
So we're getting 100,000 back?
Yep, it is,
We're gonna get a total of 800,000 ambulance receipts,
Okay,
which will go against the money that the fire department has asked for their budget,
okay,
which means there's 800,000 less coming out of the general fund
okay.
to make it happen.
Okay.
There's, as of Monday, there's $905,000 in the ambulance receipt account.
mhm,
So,
just enough to cover the special town, or is the special town meeting article already subtracted from that balance?
oh, I wish.
Okay,
No.
so,
No, it is-
we're
We're gonna take 800,000 out of what now is 905,000.
and with that other 100,000, so it'll leave the 5,000. So that,
They've got something to grow on for next year. I resisted the temptation to take out more money because we could
You
use more
can't.
revenue.
you can't unless it's in there. It's gonna like, you can't anticipate. You may have bills out, but you don't know they're gonna
Well,
pay, and so, yeah, it's all of those.
ambulance receipts is based on how quickly the insurance companies pay
Mhm.
and then how quickly we get it,
Yeah.
Um,
And then
Journal.
receive it, deposit it, and get it available in the fund. Yeah, yep.
if you're not ready to vote tonight, is there anything else I can do for you on budgets or questions I can answer? Otherwise, I would just hear.
I don't have anything else. Any questions, Sam or Andrea?
No, I have no more that have
Okay.
percolated to the top yet.
So, again, these are still draft versions of the warrant, so Ross will get me his most recent and mail it to me. I'll get it out to everybody.
Thank
And
you.
then we'll be working at least with the most current version of it. Okay, nothing, no other questions for Ross from the room?
And I'll say goodnight.
Thank you, Ross. You can enjoy
Thank
the
you.
rest of your evening.
Yeah, thank you. Back to the agenda, wherever it may be. Okay, so lots of discussion with the town administrator regarding the budget and warrant articles, so there's lots of moving pieces still on that. All right, and just as Russ came in, I'm going back up to the work session
item 2.1.3, the other membership items. I discussed and mentioned that Mark Hussey has been having discussions with John Barrett about being reappointed. And we do have one member that he was appointed, sworn in, but we haven't seen him, so,
2 years.
Oh, for 2 years? Oh,
On,
wow.
when we go to our August 13th meeting, we have that on the schedule and that agenda is posted. The first item in the work session will be, to have a meeting and a vote regarding the person that we have, it is there. The bylaws required that, a certified return receipt requested mail be sent. It was sent, it was signed for. And so we meet the 10-day requirement, for him coming in. So we just, I want to make sure we're going to have a quorum on the 13th, for that meeting. It's kind of like, so August 13th.
August 13th.
So we, and Jerry, I know you said you're out that week.
Actually, I'm out Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, right.
I'm out.
I'll be there.
I'll
Okay,
be-
thank you.
16th.
We're out to the 16th.
Yeah.
Any chance you could
God damn you.
just call in?
Oh, my birthday.
No, that's right. it's your
Oh,
birthday.
yeah, I wouldn't be calling in either.
Yeah,
but,
I knew that.
I
Okay.
can be here. I'll be here.
Okay, thank you. And Sam, can you make sure you're available on the 13th?
I'm
6
looking
o'clock.
at the calendar right now. Ugh.
I know that's a date that we had discussed long ago, and so I had booked the Zoom call, so
It's Tuesday the 13th. Are we having one next week? The whatever.
we may, I get it, we have to vote on it, and they'd like to know our opinions before they close the warrant, so
Okay.
we may try to do it on Monday, because the selectmen are having a special meeting on Monday next week.
Right.
I'll
I think I have my board meeting.
Oh.
Oh, I had BOS on the 6th. I think they're meeting on the 6th.
That's the regular day, but they're gonna close the warrant and talk on the
Oh,
warrant on
close the
Monday.
warrant, okay.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure. I have to go look at my other calendar. I'm not sure if I have a planning board meeting on the 5th. No, I don't think I do. I think it's the 12th, but yeah, so Monday, the 5th should be okay.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
There's nothing on the calendar at this point, on the town calendar.
So,
Tuesday the 6th is what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
No, that was, the 6th was gonna be, but, because it's gonna be closed, they wanna see if we have any questions or what our recommendations are gonna be on
For the 5th.
for the 5th, yeah. So the one that we had scheduled for the 6th with the Board of Selectmen, we're gonna move to Monday, the 5th, and
Oh, all right.
okay.
If practicable, I'll make the 5th, but the 13th, what is the 13th? Is that an in-person?
it can be in person or we can do remote. There is a Zoom.
Oh, okay, the Zoom, fine. I'm not, okay. When is the town meeting set for?
They're trying to close the
Okay.
warrant for the 6th, so they're trying to do it for August 20th.
Okay,
No.
fine.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Keep that in the air.
Yeah, that's the next dates in the year. They haven't closed it because the warrant's not closed and signed and posted, so they won't have that until the 6th to know for sure. The
I
20th.
can't think it's set for
I
town
just-
meeting on the 10th of September.
That was the first date, or one of the first dates that showed
So
up.
they're
There
It
was
was the
changing it now.
20th.
Now
Yeah,
the 20th of
Yeah.
August.
That's
now
what
the
I,
20th of August.
Okay, well, I'm, well, I can't get an August thing up here because Townsend won't go into August.
Oh, okay.
Townsend calendar's got a little arrow, go left or right, and it won't go any, oh, they finally gave me August. Thank you.
Okay.
The 13th I'm good for. Finance committee.
Finance committee, we're gonna do
Oh,
the 5th instead of the 6th.
I'll probably be here on the 5th.
And okay. And then, and I apologize, my battery just ran down.
I was
So,
gonna say your battery is very low.
so, and we're about near the end, so.
And my battery's getting low.
So, and again, it's, trying to follow the rules that gave the dates that said 10 days, so that I
Yep.
really
No.
tried to.
Battery's not the only one dying. My brain is dead.
That's kind of weird though. Why would you
Okay.
volunteer, get
Mhm.
sworn in and never show up for a meeting? That's
So-
kind of
So
dumb.
that gives us the opportunity if we.
Oh, so his term hasn't
Take the-
ended then?
His term has not ended, it goes till June of 2025, which is the end of
Oh, okay.
the fiscal year. It's kind of like end of town meeting, so.
Okay.
So that's there. I only had one other item on the agenda under old business, which you can't see anymore. It was the MMA financial training and reference document. I have spoken to the town accountant and we've worked on the form, so we're good with that. I reached out to the contact on MMA and I haven't heard back, so my assumption is she's on vacation right now. And so as soon as we have that, we'll have another vote because we voted on it in FY 24's budget. And so,
And what is it that you vote on?
we're gonna vote to spend money on our dues and subscriptions line. And so this would be a subscription to
Oh, okay.
get the reference documentation.
And what kind of reference is Financial Rush?
It's about financial, to our finance committees, what
Okay.
the roles of finance committees are
Okay.
in the town. So in terms and
All
all
that,
of
all
those
that
things.
good
that you-
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come
Okay.
out to the town, or is it a?
They were not talking about training here. There's gonna be an online manual that we can get, but I'm also, and that is a free link, but I'm talking about buying 2 hard copy references that we can have and reference if we need to. Yep.
You can sit here
Right.
rather than going through links after links of links trying to find
Mhm.
anything.
Trying to find things. It's
Yeah.
kind of like,
You
so,
know, upstairs in the lunchroom,
oh, yeah. Yep.
there's a series of file cabinets. One of
You'll
which
never
is
find
ours.
anything.
Ah,
Oh no, of course not. Nobody ever uses it.
You'll never find.
But when you get the references, that's a place where you can keep it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yep, good. It's kind of like, I think it was just a short time ago I found the lunchroom, so. it's kinda like-
There is, they have an
There's-
actual
there is a-
lunchroom here?
They hide it on you, yeah.
Oh,
It's kinda
okay.
like they don't want us to know about it.
Oh,
But while we're on there with MMA, I do have one other item under the, they sent their dues letter in, so it's time for us to pay. I don't know, for the FY 25 dues.
FY 25 dues
Yeah,
for
so-
this MMA.
yeah, the MMA. So it's kind of like, so it's an invoice that came in. Should we have a motion to pay the bill and put it on the warrant and get it paid?
How much is it?
150.
Oh, you have to put that on the warrant? to ask
No,
for it?
not the special town meeting warrant, the bill paying warrant. So there's a bi-weekly warrant that they pay bills off. from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have money in an account for
So,
Oh, okay.
the
Yeah, so
reserve
we-
fund and for our dues and training. And that's it.
Yeah. And that's right. So
You need a
it's
motion?
dues and membership.
So you need to make a motion to
Make a
pay a
motion
bill?
to pay the, to
You
pay
do?
the MM.
Okay,
I just want to make sure, I mean, we're approving spending the money, so,
okay.
yeah, it's kind of like,
I'll make a motion to approve paying the FY 25 dues for $150.
okay,
I'll second that.
second it. Okay, we have a motion and a second to pay our dues bill. Just, so, and any other questions? Roll call vote.
Gerald Bazikis, yes?
Carol Hoff says yes.
Glenn Wood, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
And Don Hayes, yes, so will be dues paying member for another year.
Okay,
It's kind of like,
yay.
and one of the other benefits is we get a reduced price on the manuals. It's kind of like,
Oh,
so
yeah.
they
Yeah.
would be more than double the
Yeah.
price
Yeah.
if we didn't, so.
Yeah, there's always that little incentive to pay dues. You get like a,
Yeah, so, and then if there's anything additional that we find we want to purchase from them, because there are other reference documents that they have. And they do have meetings and, we can go out and meet other finance committee members from other towns and have an interaction and make contacts and see how other towns are doing.
I think that might be a good idea. I know, once a year we get to go over to the show, check with all the other
Mhm.
towns, but
Yep.
I think that might be a good idea.
Okay. The fall one should be coming up probably September. So we can make it's usually a Saturday morning in Sharon, I believe, so.
wherever Sharon
Wherever
is.
Sharon is.
Whatever
Yeah,
Sharon is.
yeah. I have no idea.
I have no idea either.
Okay, then, our next meeting date is gonna be August 5th,
Fifth.
so I'll update. And, August 13th. And we'll
So we
do,
are meeting here next, Tuesday on the 6th.
Oh,
no,
No,
it's the 5th. Yep,
Oh, the 5th, that's right. We did that already and my brain already forgot it. Thank you.
I will send out the updates for the meeting dates and with the Zoom links like I did last time, so
Thank you.
we'll get that information and get it out to everybody. Okay, do we have any other questions or any other questions on what we covered today?
Can I just go back for a second? So
Yep.
we're meeting on the 5th with the board of selectmen. They're also meeting on the 6th.
Correct,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
right, and that was one of those temporary things I had put on here with a potential, but because they wanna sign off the warrant and close it and then post it on the 6th,
Mhm.
that's why the meeting on the 5th.
Okay,
So
Nice.
if we have anything we want to change and discuss with them, that's a good time to get there and hit it. So, with nothing else being,
Say goodbye.
no other question, I'll entertain the motion to adjourn at 7:40.
I'll make a motion to adjourn
I'll
at
second that.
7:40.
Okay. Do we
I'll
have a
second
second?
anything.
Yeah. As long as it's dinner. No, sorry, kidding. Okay,
Yeah, it's dinner time, all right.
roll call on adjournment.
Darrell Mazekas, yes?
Carol Hoff says yes.
Andrea Wood, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Don Hayes, yes, and I thank you for your time